What's up, guys? This is the Gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. And I want to discuss the Orville. Oh my God, the Orville. I just got through watching it for the second time. This would be part 2 of Identity. Now, part 1, I didn't do a video on last week because quite frankly, it took a while for me to gather up the bits and pieces of my mind after it was blown. Oh my God, the Orville. Who knew? Now listen, I want to start off by saying this. I have never, and I said this before, I have never necessarily liked or respected Seth MacFarlane. But you see, the beautiful thing about this is that he has earned my respect, if only for the fact that I feel his passion for Star Trek. And I love that. You know what I mean? I love it when somebody can pull me in and we can find something that we have in common, you know, other than, you know, even if we have like political differences, racial differences, religious differences, gender differences, whatever, you know what I mean? But if I can feel you this much on a certain level where we share a certain degree of passion, well, I can't help but soften my heart and open it up to you and see this is what's happened with Seth MacFarlane and how much I respect this particular side of him. In contrast, you have Rian Johnson, for example. Never really had anything against Rian Johnson, didn't really know of him. I saw Looper, it was okay. But then, when I saw The Last Jedi, I lost a great deal of respect for a man I never knew. And then, the way I saw he started behaving himself on social media, well, I just resent him. You know what I mean? And everything he's done. Like the way he spoke through his art, the obvious contempt that you can feel. It's like, you know, you just don't go into, most of us who are attracted to sci-fi and sci-fantasy, we don't go into it wanting to hate it. Most of us are like Mulder. We want to believe. You know, from the X-Files, he always had that poster on his wall that said, I want to believe. I want to like all sci-fi and science fantasy. That's just how it is. It's where my passion is. It connects me to my youth, you know what I mean, and my excitement and all that good stuff, you know what I mean? So I went into The Last Jedi. I wanted to like it. You guys know how it turned out, okay? Even though it was a spectacular visual, still, the contempt and the resentment that that man relayed through that movie could not be misinterpreted. I don't care what anybody says. Who kills Luke Skywalker in the second episode, in the second movie of a trilogy? It's just bad business. You just wanted to be the one to pull that trigger, and I had no respect for it. Now, getting back to the topic, rewind, zip, 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 back to Seth MacFarlane. What he did with this 2-part episode, Identity Part 1 and Identity Part 2, is he left no doubt in anybody's mind that this man is passionate about Star Trek. And if you ask me, he probably delivered a sci-fi classic as far as sci-fi TV is concerned. You know what I mean? I'm saying it's a classic because years from now, you know, God willing, I'm still here, I will refer back to these episodes, you know what I mean? And I will say that if you wanted to see some good sci-fi on TV, go to season 2 of the Orville and look for the episodes Identity Part 1 and Part 2. Amazing, okay? Now, let me talk about, like, just on the most basic level, the brilliance of the way this episode played out. I mean, the pacing was amazing. Okay, the pacing, I gotta find something other than amazing, but what can I say? It was amazing. Okay, I'm probably gonna use that about 85 more times. But the pacing of this, being that it was on TV, the way that it was edited, the way it led into like every commercial, because I know I watched some shows like The Walking Dead or whatever, and you're sitting there and you're like, another commercial. Oh my God, you know? But this one, the way that the pacing was, you know, the timing of each segment, it blew your mind at every commercial break. So you almost needed that time to catch your breath. You know what I mean? It was perfectly done. And like I said before, just conceptually, the brilliance of the episode is that it revolves around the character of Isaac, which I have no problem with, by the way. Little known fact, and how would you know, my middle name is Isaac. I'm named after my grandfather. So I love that, number one, you know what I mean? Either that or I was named after Isaac the bartender on the Love Boat. I like to think it was my grandfather. So anyway, going on, all right, it revolves around Isaac, and he goes back to the planet of, his home planet of Kalon after he's deactivated. Now, you know, the funny thing about this is that this almost has like a little smack back to To serve man. That classic episode of The Twilight Zone, To Serve Man. Or was it To Serve Mankind? It was probably To Serve Man. All right? Because there's always this assumption that artificial life forms are there to serve humanity. You know what I mean? But we get caught out there every time in our arrogance when we overlook the possibility of self-realization. Like, the more sophisticated we make machines, the closer we get to a day when they will become self-actualized, all right? So this is always going to be a classic sci-fi concept, you know, and this was no different. And it kind of went back to that, to serve man, because the only reason why they were able to get the drop on their whole planet is because their whole planet of organized, or I should say organisms, falsely believed that they will always be in control and always have the machines in a role of servitude, you know. So when Isaac goes back, and by the way, spoilers, guys. I'm gonna put it in the headline anyway, so you guys will know. Spoilers. When Isaac goes back to Kalon, when they bring him back to Kalon, you know, to figure out why he's been shut down, it becomes revealed that the what is it? The Kalons, the Kalons, I want to say, are going to overthrow all of the life forms everywhere. And this is their ultimate plan. You know what I mean? Almost like the Borg, but to me, they're just a little bit more brutal because they actually have an axe to grind because they were abused, you know, and they're aware of it. So they don't want it to ever happen again. So there's something more that's motivating them. So, yeah, so what's going on with this is that, yeah, Isaac, you know, has to be reactivated, you know what I mean, and everything. So he's going to be reactivated. And like I said, the brilliance of this is that Isaac, to me, has always been reminiscent of Commander Data from The Next Generation. You know what I mean? It's like from the minute you hear his voice, you're reminded of Data. So you're put into a feeling of security because you're already relating to this character that you know and you love. You know, I thought when I first saw it that Brent Spiner was Isaac. You know what I mean? You couldn't tell me it wasn't Brent Spiner underneath that helmet, you know? Plus, because he has the helmet, there's never any giveaway. It's like the ultimate poker face. You never know what he's feeling, you know? So it relies on a lot of assumption, you know? And in that, he is better conceptualized than Data because Data always gave you a little playful, you know, smirk or grin or you know, just some type of reaction to what was going on around him, even if it was like childlike curiosity. But with Isaac, you get none of that because, of course, he has that ice-cold helmet on with the two eyes, you know, the bright things, you know, and you never really know what he's thinking or could possibly be feeling, you know. But nonetheless, we still feel a certain tie to him because I think they purposefully, it's just my feeling, I think that they purposefully wanted us to kind of like have this kind of like flashback to Data, you know, when we would hear him, you know, and shout out to Mark Jackson because the acting that he does as Isaac depends a lot on his stature, you know, the way he moves, the way he holds his hands and stuff like that, if he's startled or if he's curious or something like that. It's a very physical kind of performance, you know, so shout out to him, Mark Jackson, who plays the role. We only saw him once so far outside of that uniform. So yeah, so it goes forward and we just find out that they're gonna take out everybody, and it looks like Isaac is a traitor. And you know, like I said, the feeling that the crew has after that is just amazing. And then we find out, of course, that they killed everybody on the planet. The Kalons did. They killed their whole organic population. And what a scene that was when we saw like the skulls down in the cave, and we realized that it was billions. You know what I mean? They exterminated the whole race. It was. Ooh, it was crazy. And I'm sitting there like, no, they didn't just do that. No, they didn't. They just didn't say it in the story, but they graphically illustrated what it would look like if you wiped out the entire species on a planet and then just dumped their bones underneath the surface. It was ridiculous. And then, of course, you know, they go on from there to mobilize their forces. They take over to Orville. They're going to head to Earth, and, you know, they're kicking all types of ass and everything like that, but they're doing it so coldly. That's what makes it so eerie, you know what I mean? And what is it? Then, you know, of course, they spin off into, you know, part 2 and everything, because I think that's where we, you know, where we broke off the episode. And then it just goes on. It's so uncompromising, you know, from the officer that got thrown out of the dock and suffocated in outer space. I mean, it was just so brutal, you know, for a show that I thought was going to be just a spoof. Talk about getting bitch smacked, baby. It's like I got bitch smacked, but you know who got bitch smacked the most? actual Star Trek Discovery, because they have yet to achieve what the Orville has achieved as far as getting you to care for the characters and getting you to actually feel what they're going through. We don't feel that sense of urgency, the stakes of what they're going through on the Orville. What is it? Star Trek Discovery, STD, has yet to achieve that. You know what I mean? So it's shameful. It's shameful. The music on these episodes too was ridiculous, guys. Go back and pay attention to the music in the episodes. It was actually inspired. When was the last time that you heard music in a sci-fi show that felt so inspired? It was almost reminiscent of John Williams. Yes, I'm going to say it, because every scene almost had its own score. You know, when Ty was going, to try to send out the message with the blob dude. I forget what the blob dude is named. But when they were going, it's like, pay attention to the music. You know, every scene had very appropriate music to it. You know, so it's like I'm seeing that. The space battle was ridiculous. You had starships being destroyed when, oh my God, it's like they just went all out. You know what I mean? They just went all out, and I love it. And then when Gordon and Kelly, you know, do that desperate mission to go out and get the Krills, it's like you just felt that sense of desperation. They just slingshot themselves out into the dead of space with 15 minutes left of air. Talk about desperation. But we knew that it was desperation because of what was going on. So it wasn't even like they were reaching. It's like they had to take that chance. You know, so when they got out there, you know, thank God they were picked up and everything. And then the Krill, what was his name? Dalek? I forget what his name is. Guys, you know what it is. But anyway, he was so damn cool. You know what I mean? It's like they joined the fight. What's his name? Ed Mercer is like, we owe you one. And Dalek is just like, okay, you know, just try to stay out of my way. You know, try to stay out of our way, he says. You know, and they just get into the fight. They're kicking ass. You know, Bortus, he has just one shot to take out the Kalons, you know, and everything. And Mercer says to him, you only got one shot to do this. Bortus is just cool as shit. He's just like, I will not fail you. And he takes him out. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, I just love it. I got the feels, man. And I'm telling you, this is what I appreciate. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there like, oh my God. It's like, it reminds me of that song. The way I used to feel was, I know I'll never love this way again. But I keep holding on, and here it is. The Orville brought it back to me. It brought all the feelings back to me of like watching classic sci-fi that is actually well done. You know what I mean? So, of course, Isaac, you know, when faced with the order to exterminate young Ty, and young Ty, by the way, definitely, I give him a round of applause. The kid who plays young Ty definitely out Wesley Crusher when it comes to being the #1 kid on a starship. You know what I mean? You can see his potential. The kid who's doing the acting job, you could feel him when he was in danger. I was like, run, Ty, run, get away, Ty. Your mother is waiting for you, Kai. Ty is one of my son's friends, I think. But anyway, so I'm like, run, Ty. And the kid was just great. You know what I mean? And after Isaac goes and shuts down all of the Kalons and stuff like that, including himself, I love the fact that they gave Ty just a small, brief moment to just stand there and just take in the sacrifice, you know, of Isaac and everything. He loves him, you know? So, like I said, it was just, everything was well done. I'm not sure that it was realistic that Isaac would have been returned to the Orville in the end after what he did. After all, that was a huge security breach, you know? So until you really knew what he was capable of, I'm not sure if it was the right decision to reactivate him and place him back in a sensitive position. You know what I mean? But, you know, it is what it is. I do like the character, and I think we're going to be seeing more from him. Very well done. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, amazing episode. Guys, if you've been sleeping on the Orville, go check it out. I don't expect it to be everybody's cup of tea, but definitely, if you love Star Trek The Next Generation, which clearly Todd McFarlane does, then this show, don't sleep on it. Check it out. All right, it deserves all of the accolades that it can get. It definitely took a great big old dump on STD. You know what I mean? But I don't know. You know, whatever, man. I haven't watched too many of anybody else's reviews, so I might be going on and on about this, and then come to find out that generally it was not well received. I don't know. So you guys get in the comment section and let me know, those of you who have seen the Orville, the last couple of episodes. Let me know how you felt about Identity Parts 1 and 2. And sound off, okay? You can like, you can share, you can subscribe. I will greatly appreciate it. Of course, check me out on Twitter. And there's a Patreon down there as well. All right, guys, that's it for now. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. I will catch you on the next one. Rock on. Boom, bitch.